seconds to comply.
I think you'd better do what he says, Mr. Kenny.
You have 60 seconds to comply. This is minute 6. Part man,
Part machine,
all pod.
This minute begins with Sergeant Reed saying front and center, and ends with Lewis saying, until you know your way around.
Yes. It's always fun when you got a minute where the conversation's half cut off.
Yeah, so,
First Lewis, so excited!
yeah, Nancy Ellen gets the best introduction in this movie.
Yeah. Oh man, I've been waiting for this. Yeah. So let's face it, Lewis is the proper real badass of this movie.
Oh, absolutely.
RoboCop's, he's a mechanical badass. He's designed for it, but Lewis is like 100% raw badass.
Yeah, she was just born that way. He had to be augmented to
Yeah.
be as badass as she is. Really, that's all it came down to. Just OCP went, fuck, she's too powerful. How do we give her a partner that's powerful enough?
I know. He has to be augmented by metal and servos and has to have a gun for a penis. So
Yeah.
just to like.
Just to compete.
Just to compete. Although, thankfully, this minute does cut out before Murphy does try to big dog Lewis in the car. Probably talk more about that next minute.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to cut straight to the commentary here because this is actually quite interesting. This scene is deliberately designed to obfuscate the fact that Lewis was a girl, Lewis was a woman, and they went out of their way to masculinize Lewis to a certain degree, and there's actually some good reasons for that. So Ed Neumeier says the following.
We always wanted to make her come off just like a guy and not know that she was a girl until she took off her helmet. I don't know if that's completely successful here or even possible, but it is a good introduction for a female action hero, I think.
Yeah, she looks like a girl.
I think we are, of course, looking at it through the perspective of people who have, definitely seen this movie time and time again, and we have hindsight knowing, it's Nancy Allen. And let's be brutally honest, there is an ass shot where she gets knocked into a guy sitting down, and I'm not sure how much that was deliberate or kind of exploitative.
I think it's just about the build. There's only so much she can do. So she's only 5'6", whereas if you have a Gwendolyn Christie and you put her in the Captain Phasma armor, you're going to have a harder time because you're just used to women are around this size and men are around this size. So
I mean, just for cinematography, they could have had the shot of her landing in the other guy's lap at a different angle, shot in a different way. But
I wasn't talking about that specifically.
But I do like that the armor is very, I won't say masculine, but they do make sure the cop uniforms are very much gender neutral.
Yeah, and I think there's something to that in that Lewis and Murphy look so much alike. When she takes the helmet off, you see a similar haircut, similar hair color. Both have blue eyes, and then in that uniform, it makes their body shape more similar.
So Verhoeven actually does comment in the commentary. Oh my god, that was redundant. He does talk about this in the commentary that they actually asked Nancy Allen to shorten her hair for the role because they were worried that later on in the movie, Lewis would be sexualized by RoboCop, so they tried to tone down her sexuality. I do kind of think it's a smart move. It was probably the smarter move. And
I actually don't get queer vibes from her, which is interesting because, a character like Kira in DS9, I think she definitely gives me lesbian vibes, and she seems like she's queer coded, and yet they never go anywhere with that, and it's so frustrating. But for some reason, Lewis always just seems kind of neutral.
Sorry, I'm just thinking, how much do you know about Kira's romantic partners in the series?
Well, I'm 4 seasons in, so
I know where you're at, but I'm thinking, do you know what happens to her in the future?
No.
Okay, then I'm not going to spoil it then.
Right.
But there is a thing of maybe there's something in there.
All right, because I know that the Mirror Universe one is.
Oh yeah, she's
bisexual?
omnisexual.
Omnisexual, yes.
Yeah.
All sex, all the time.
She's the Jack Harkness of Star Trek.
Ah, yes, say no more.
But we never get a...
Oh, hey, we can put our Star Trek drop in. We're already doing it.
Well, shit. That's exactly what I was hoping to spare you from.
It's like 5 minutes in.
Yeah. I do think it's interesting that we do not see anything about Lewis's personal life, but we do have an assumption based on, society. She doesn't come off as queer coded at all. I think if anything she's very gender neutral.
We know so little about her backstory, and yet she feels like a complete character. Just even in this introductory scene, you just go, oh, yep, I get her. I totally get this character.
But interestingly enough, they feminize her more in the sequel. She has slightly longer hair in RoboCop 2. At least it's a more feminine haircut. And she has...
Oh, you see, because RoboCop doesn't have the penis anymore.
Yeah.
So it's okay.
It was also completely different director. Irvin Kershner, director of Empire Strikes Back.
He's a really interesting director, Irvin, because he's had this career forever, and he can just fill in with any director. He fits. He's a chameleon.
Well, one would argue that he's a much fucking better director than George Lucas. You look at Empire and visually you look at and compare it to Star Wars: A New Hope, and oh my god, Kershner's such a better director.
Oh yeah, oh god, all the scenes on is it on the Death Star, or is it when Luke and
on Cloud City?
It's on Cloud City. Oh, all those interiors,
the lighting, the visuals. Oh,
sexy,
so good. Oh, I think I'd need to make a formal apology on this. I just realised something. Editing past the episodes, I keep referring to Paul Verhoeven as the mad German director. I formally apologise to Mr. Verhoeven. He is a mad Dutch director.
Ooh, it didn't even do that level of research. Oh, I have to kick you off the show now. Sorry, gotta find a new...
I know, I am trash. I don't know why my brain automatically goes to German, but no, he's Dutch. And the reason why I thought of that, because, Irvin Kershner, another European-style director, I believe. I don't want to misrepresent his country either, and I'm not going to Google it on my phone, because I can't be bothered. We're not talking Star Wars, we're talking RoboCop and Star Trek.
Oh, I know, my other podcast, I should say, always bloody Star Wars just shows up. Don't want to talk about it, but it happens. It's just inevitable.
I guess Aliens is... The Alien series, I should say, is a response to things like Star Trek and Star Wars.
True.
Aliens borrowed the lived-in universe aesthetics from Star Wars. I mean, Star Wars was pretty much the first the first franchise that dirtied up science fiction. Probably wasn't the first, but it popularized it.
Yeah, the future... Well, even though it's not the future, but the future is usually so shiny up until the 70s, and then everything got grungy as hell.
Well, that's it. Star Wars, it starts off with a beautiful princess spaceship and then devolves immediately into the dirt farm, and we've been stuck there ever since.
Whereas RoboCop is just a shithole from beginning to end. There's nothing beautiful.
It's sad how much modern day Detroit has started to resemble RoboCop, and we're not the first people to ever point that out. Yeah,
Detroit for a while was slang for something that looks nasty, worn down, cheap.
Damn it, no, not skipping to Gaslight, but it's kind of ironic that the remake looks cleaner.
Yep, we'll get to that soon.
Internal screaming. So, just quickly, in the commentary, John Davison points out that in the original script, when Lewis takes off her helmet, long flowing hair was supposed to come cascading down. And Ed's response is that even at the time was a cliche, and they even admittedly said that Nancy Allen looked better with short hair.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine any other way.
It's an interesting thing to think about when I'm there going, okay, so they deliberately desexualized her, and yet they even still point out that she looks good in short hair. And it's kind of funny that, fashion-wise, long hair has been such a thing for so long, but it's only been like the last, maybe 2 decades where short hair has become fashionable again?
Well, so early 20th century short hair was the thing. So you're looking at basically from the 1920s to about the 1950s and 60s. That's when you start to see, well, actually 70s. You know what? I'd say 70s is the point where long hair for both men and women came in again.
The hippie movement and things like that,
So we've had basically a generation where long hair was the default, and now we're coming back around to short again.
I'm more thinking, when I say short, I'm thinking like crop tops, but incredibly short hair.
Well, there's undercards, there's bob cards. Yeah, no, crop top is a.
That's a piece of clothing.
That's an article of clothing, yes.
See, I am not a fashion person.
That's what I'm here for.
I always look at the authority in the room.
So Maggie Fish, who we reference quite a bit, and she is bae. I love her. She's amazing.
She's amazing.
And she does a video essay about RoboCop as an exploitation film and also as a transgender allegory. And her discussions about Lewis and the reasons why she would be styled to look like Murphy are really interesting. And I won't really go into it here, but it's definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, watch the video. Definitely watch the video.
Yeah.
It's linked in the first episode.
I recently talked about this in my Alien Covenant podcast, where how we depict our female action heroes is such a controversial thing, you know. Action men's, you know, they all kind of look the same, you know, they're 6 foot or above, muscular, or they look like the Marvel guys. There's not a lot of variety there. Even Doctor Strange.
We occasionally have slight divergence with like the John McClane archetype,
Spider-Man,
but realistically speaking, it's always a hyper-masculine, muscle-bound hero.
Yeah, whereas women in this genre, they tend to be taller than average, they're androgynous, they are kind of butch. Yeah, it's very strange how we have these expectations, but then there's also this argument of, well, they shouldn't look super feminine while they're saving the world either, and there's so much politics surrounding women's appearance, so...
It's funny because Brie Larson copped a lot of shit for Captain Marvel by idiots on the internet because she wasn't feminine. She didn't smile, and, you know, she's wearing head-to-toe leather and every single time... Oh, God, I don't want to really get into this rabbit hole, but I think it's worth it. There's always a thing whenever there's a new female hero, there's always a bunch of people going, why do we need a new female hero? You've got Ellen Ripley, you've got Sarah Connor. Why do you need a new one?
You can count them all on one hand, so fuck off.
Exactly. And here's what I was thinking today. Nobody ever brings up Lewis.
No, and why the hell not? Because she is the best.
I have a theory on that. I have no data representing. I literally just thought about this 10 minutes before we recorded. Lewis is one of the only action heroines that I can think of. She's not the main character, which is not necessarily a bad or good thing, but she's also a character that's a badass from the beginning. She maintains her agency. She's not in a romantic relationship. There's no tension between her and Murphy. They're equals.
She doesn't befall a terrible fate.
Yeah, she doesn't... I mean, yeah, she gets shot in this movie, but, you know... She gets better. Yeah. We know that. And even if, you know, she didn't, she probably could be RoboCop 2, and we're never going to get that movie.
They can fix you. They can fix everything.
One of the best lines in the movie. Whereas if you think about the two action heroes I just mentioned, weirdly connected to James Cameron. Both of them in their first movies are victims. Or, you know, like for example, Sarah Connor, she's not an action hero. She becomes an action hero in the next movie. Ripley, she's got some training militaristically. She's a starship. I forgot the role in there. She's third in command.
Oh, she's got a weird title. She's basically she's not the navigator, because that's... No, what was it? It's a weird title.
But she's in a position of authority under Toon. She's not a warrior per se, but she does have the smart insight. She only becomes a badass warrior in the next movie. So it's funny how these typically have to evolve into the role, whereas Lewis is just a badass right off the bat.
Yeah, she doesn't have that journey.
Yeah, I mean, it would be cool to see that journey, or at least something similar, but we never get that, unfortunately, in 2 movies.
She's a warrant officer, because I remember on the Alien movies by minute, they're going, what the hell does that actually mean? It doesn't really...
Do you know what it sounds like? It sounds like a position that they gave to somebody just to get them on the ship. You know, like, you know, it's maybe Ripley's like the daughter of a top-level studio, almost said studio Yutani, Wayland Yutani executive, and he's just like, I'm just going to get my deadbeat daughter, sister, cousin out into space and away from me.
Yeah.
You're the warrant officer. What am I warranting? Look over there. There's a ship. Go in there.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for just belittling Ripley like that. I'm so sorry.
It's not her status that makes her who she is. But it feels like no matter what, women's bodies are going to be political, and no matter which way you go, it's always going to be a statement. So, you know, that's the thing is, okay, we'll just have a series of generic muscular manly men's in every video game and every movie ever. Yeah. And yet, it's either, you know, you've kind of got these Xena characters, or your 7 of 9 characters, or your Black Widows.
It's also the trope of, oh, look at female armor. It's just 2 straps and a couple of plates. And really? Really?
I really love the Gal Gadot Wonder Woman specifically because she is gorgeous. She's absolutely stunning, but that costume is not sexualized, even though it's quite short and revealing.
Well, it's funny that for the longest time, Wonder Woman basically wore pants, like underwear type of pants.
Little dancers briefs.
Yeah. She's never gone the full G-string in the comic because, as much as they want to show ass, they have a Comics Code Authority they had to beg for so many years. But Wonder Woman used to wear a skirt in the 40s.
Yeah.
And it was almost a feministic move to get her out of the skirt. And now it's almost kind of a feministic move to put her back into the skirt. I mean, it's not even really a skirt. It's a lot of flaps of fabric that mimic a skirt, but also gives her the freedom of mobility.
Well, it's a Spartan-style kilt, I think is what it's properly called.
Yeah, I couldn't think of the right term for it, but I mean, it's arcing back to the 40s version of Wonder Woman stylistically, but it's very practical.
Historically, it makes a lot of sense as well.
Yeah.
If she's from this ancient Greek culture.
Yeah.
That somehow has not evolved in 2,000 or 3,000 years.
I have a lot of negative things to say about those Snyder movies, but that costume... Oh, it's pretty much Wonder Woman's of the Batman 5 Superman stuff. Wonder Woman was the best.
Yeah.
Just flat out. Not hiding for 100 years wasn't a good thing that they're trying to retcon out of existence, but...
Yeah, we'll just pretend that didn't happen.
Yeah, I like to pretend those movies don't happen. I'm sorry. This is not going to be a Bagging on Snyder podcast. This is going to be pro-badass woman warrior podcast.
Yes. And then she gets killed off in the third movie. Lois does, which we'll pretend that doesn't exist.
I heard that was Nancy Allen's request, but you know what? I think anyone probably looked at that script and went, yeah, kill me off.
Yeah. I wish she got RoboCopped. That'd be great.
Yeah.
That's another thing is female robots, androids, cyborgs, they are, again, sexuality and appearance become this major focal point when it's not for the male cyborgs, androids, what have you. So, Ghost in the Shell, for instance, where the major, can't remember her full name, but anyway.
I haven't watched it. I hate to say it.
It's really good. Although it's very dense. Kusanagi. There we go, Major Kusanagi.
I keep meaning to watch the original anime, and I never got around to it. I'm not watching that live-action one. That just looks terrible.
Oh, the live-action one, visually it's very nice. There's a lot of the great Weta Workshop stuff.
I've heard visually, it's stunning, but not the plot.
Just play the Blade Runner soundtrack and watch it. Silent. Good time, man. Yeah, Kusanagi, she wears this, basically a thong, but then she got a leather jacket over the top, and the anime does, the manga as well, it sort of explore this idea of, well, it's not really my body, and am I a real woman, and all those sorts of things. So, okay, so you can have those discussions, but I think overall, these aren't things we do with male characters of a similar vein. You mostly just have your RoboCops and Cyborg, literally Cyborg from DC Comics.
Well, it's funny when you say that, just thinking about fembots in pop culture, and, typically science fiction, but in just pop culture. They are either the literal sex bot, or they're the hidden seductress. Oh,
yes.
My brain went to freaking Austin Powers.
Yeah. Well, so that's what I was thinking is every time there's a female android and she's just supposed to be a domestic model or a social companion model, inevitably someone will try to fuck her. Like in Being Human, no? Which one is it? Humans! There we go. Too many shows with human in the title. Yeah, so there's one, the main android, her name is Anita in Humans, the series. And the father in that family does try to have sex with her. And you never see that with male androids, no one's trying to come onto David in Prometheus or anything like that. They don't get sexualized the same way.
I think the only time that actually ever happens is in erotic fiction.
Silver Medal Lover.
Yeah, or even I'd say parody at no, even really then you don't really see that, and it's almost like the hypersexuality only goes one way.
Yeah, well, so one example, if anyone out there is interested in some good android fiction, there's an anime called Time of Eve, which someone did upload on YouTube as we record this, so it's been there for a while, maybe you'll still find it. Time of Eve, which is this cafe where all these regulars are actually androids, and you sort of have to guess who's who. And yeah, there is a male android who is sort of just his owner's boy toy, and yeah, we don't see that very often, if ever.
So I was just thinking the only sexualized android I could think of the top of my head is Blade Runner 2049 because everyone just wants to bone Ryan Gosling apparently.
Oh yeah, true. Well, replicants aren't really androids.
But even then, he has a companion AI in Joy.
Yeah.
That is a very unfortunate name if you know your porn references.
Well, there's Gigolo Joe in AI, the Steven Spielberg film, and he's seen as this oddity, especially in the cultural landscape. We just do not see sex models that are male that often, or they tend to be a joke, or they tend to be just, oh yeah, there's some males in the background, just so you know. It's
kind of weird, because even like you think of, we haven't had a Deus Ex, I said it right.
Yeah.
Drop in a while.
I never asked for this. Yeah,
I don't recall there being porn bots in that, because it's not really robots, it's...
no, it's more cyborgs.
It's transhuman...
But how often do we have, so say for example, Adam Jensen? How often do we have an Adam Jensen who's a woman?
Yeah, well, even Adam Jensen was basically buff as fuck beforehand, and like he's just like...
he was like the perfect specimen, and then he was a perfect just specimen.
And he's literally the perfect specimen in the game, because he's the only one that doesn't require the drugs to... I like the game, but I have issues with it.
The Ghost in the Shell adaptation does steal that idea of, you got to take this medication so that your body doesn't reject the augmentations.
That is a real thing with organ transplant. So it makes sense that our bodies want to reject a foreign object. And I do think that... correct me if I'm wrong, but I do think that even today with medical like replacement limbs and stuff like that, that the bodies have problems and they can still, not necessarily reject it, but they get infected and stuff like that. So
okay, so so they just recently discovered it's not really a metal, but it's a metal-like compound that can be inserted.
Carbon fiber?
I have to look this up. I'm gonna make a note of it. But it's a metal that isn't rejected by the body.
Can't wait for medical technology to actually get to the point where, things like artificial prosthesis, not the augmentation level, like, not saying transhumanism is bad, but like when people are just like going, what is the boundary between human and unhuman? But like, I can't wait for prosthetics and that to get really, really advanced, like, so there is like touch feedback and things like that. And
sign me the fuck up.
Yeah, I would like a replacement spine, thank you very much. That would be great. The technology has advanced, but it's still not there yet. And
if I have less limbs, then I have more mitochondria, and I won't be so tired.
Yeah, well, the irony is it probably cost you an arm and leg. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, do they do exchanges? Or if they don't pay for transgender surgery in Australia, they're definitely not paying for cyborg Robocop surgery.
No, they'll pay for it when the straight white dudes in power can be told they can get a robo dick.
Yep.
I wish I was joking.
But no, that's pretty feasible.
There's, I'm not sure if it's changed anymore, but remember that Viagra was government subsidized, and Plan B and other things like tampons aren't. It's almost like...
we're living in a patriarchy.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I start talking and my blood starts going a little bit... I talk enough politics on Facebook, and I know we say this is a political show.
Why do you go on Facebook? You get yourself so worked up and you keep coming back for more.
I go because, I don't know, that moment of self-realization.
I could end my suffering.
If I could quit Facebook entirely, I probably would. But the problem is I still do most of my communication on there with people. And Twitter's like another trash fire. Yeah, most of my friends aren't on anything else.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, so I can just look at pretty pictures and everyone can shut the fuck up.
I keep making a joke about making an OnlyFans account, and part of me is like, oh, maybe that is the way to go. Me making pictures of my beard to sell to people.
Yes. So my final note for this minute is that I looked around at the details in the locker room, and I was surprised I couldn't find too many hidden detailed little Easter eggs or anything like that. It says it's 4:30 on the clock on the wall. There's a poster for the real Raise a Child organization. There's a TV mounted on the wall, and it displays a kind of schematic for a car and then some mugshots. So basically what I've gathered is that this is not a film about Easter eggs and background details. You know, some directors really do love to do that. Verhoeven is not one of them.
I think those Easter eggs are going to turn up maybe later on in things like the gas station where there's background things, and because that's where I believe the Iron Man reference is.
Oh, yes.
However, there isn't an Easter egg, but there is a shot reference. So, and I have confirmed this in the audio commentary, the shot where Murphy closes the door and there's a close-up of his name is a direct reference to Fredrickson's locker. Ed Neumeyer calls this the coffin closing shot.
Oh, right.
It is directly to tell you, through cinematic language, that Murphy gonna die.
Ah.
And I only noticed that this time around because I was looking.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. Very subtle.
Again, a very smart film with some very smart filmmakers. I love it.
It's such a shame that we don't have more of this kind of stuff, especially these days. It's just, big franchises.
The 80s were a crazy time.
Oh, the 80s were a beautiful time. And the 90s to a degree as well. Just experimental, unique films that, they weren't sequels, they weren't tied into anything else. And there was a lot of thought and heart put into it. Nah, we don't have that so much anymore.
Well, this wasn't exactly a blockbuster hit like you would think of like a Bayformers. It would be like, it was an R-rated film. It wasn't broad release because, it's an ultraviolet schlocky film. But it made its money back. Of course, it made enough money back to warrant 2 sequels. And it became a huge thing on home release, I believe.
So many kids watch this. It's R-rated.
I know. So many kids traumatized, and we loved it.
Yeah, I was so sheltered because I'm the oldest child, so I'm the test run where they're just like, don't do anything, and my brothers weren't allowed to have toy guns or anything like that. And inevitably, they made toy guns out of cardboard and connected textures and all those sorts of things anyway, so it didn't matter. My grandmother just bought some toy guns one day and went, look, let's just stop pretending this is not going to just happen.
I mean, by that stage, you had Nerf. I mean, Nerf is awesome.
Yes, come on, man.
Yeah, it's Nerf or nothing.
So I remember some kids in my class in primary school, they were allowed to watch MA movies, which is R, basically. Yeah. And just thinking, oh man, that's so cool, and my parents are so lame, and I don't believe in censorship really, even for kids personally. But yeah, it's amazing how sheltered I was.
I think there is a level of parental responsibility, like a kid under the age of, say, I'm going to be hypocritical and say probably under the age of 10, maybe not shown RoboCop, unless that kid is mature enough to understand that this is fake.
Yeah.
Parents know their kids well enough to know what they can and cannot watch. Because a kid over the age of 10 might still be scared from, say, Ghostbusters.
Oh, I know adults who can't watch horror movies. I got a friend who, so I was talking about this before we started recording. Love Jeffrey Combs. I absolutely love Reanimator. I was like, hey, do you want to watch Reanimator for Halloween this year? And she's just like, I don't know if I can do it, man.
I literally can't recall if I've seen it or not. I think I have, but it was like 30 years ago.
Honestly, between Evil Dead and Reanimator, I think Reanimator's my favorite.
Yeah, I might have to dig a copy of that. But yeah, Evil Dead is, as much as it's like now problematic for one particular scene, I still think it's a very solid horror film.
Oh yeah, my god.
And holy shit, the remake is good.
I've not actually seen the remake.
The remake is really good.
But I was going to say that Reanimator, I think in a weird way, I have more of a fondness for it. Because I can kind of relate more to Herbert West than I can Ash, because just in terms of physicality, like Jeffrey Combs is very small and he's very young at the time too. So it's like, he looked like me.
So shall we skip forward to the gaslighting of RoboCop?
Yes, I think it's time to gaslight our RoboCop.
Alex, how do you feel?
I feel fine, Dr. Norton.
So my one line is, the boy aspires his future as the female reporter sugarcoats the US occupational forces.
Yep.
That's pretty much it.
Yep.
The other note I had is, anyone else getting Terminator vibes?
A little bit. This minute begins with the boy Navid looking through the doors and ends with one of the bombers, Arash, looking out the window and nodding. So that guy, Arash, it sounds like a pun, isn't it? Presumably, Navid's father says, we're not here to kill any of them, the goal is to die on television. So it's kind of a Wow, heavy political stuff, but it's not actually relevant to the fucking message of the movie.
The more I watch this minute by minute, the more I go, what the fuck happened to this film? There's so much good stuff in these last 2 minutes. Like, the idea of RoboCop versus, well, not even say versus the insurgents, because my brain actually went to Rambo 3. You know, RoboCop would probably side with the insurgents against the fucking Russians. Oh, that movie's not aged well. Jesus Christ, yeah. In the original movie, at this stage, we've met all our protagonists, and we've got quick glimpses of our antagonists.
Yeah, we set up so much. It's so much more efficient. We've set up this world. We've already kind of got a connection to these characters. It's not just, oh, here they are. It's like, oh, actually, I'm quite invested in this dynamic. And
Jesus,
in our remake, if we were to do this, the main focus should be on that kind of they live style, consume, obey, all of that stuff. It really should be about the corporate issues that face the modern, and let's face it, mostly Western world.
Yeah.
Because that's what the original RoboCop was about. And I think if you start telling stories about a totally unrelated culture in the beginning of your film, and then you end up...
What are you doing?
Yeah, because we never come back to this. All of this setup, it doesn't come back. It's not like, yes, and RoboCop will show up in Tehran in the third act and he's going to put an end to it. No, it's nothing.
As I keep having to point out, not for you, Connor, for the audience, because this whole shit in this part of this movie is to set up the idea that Americans don't want robot cops, and they only will trust a robot cop if it's got a human brain in there. What the fuck? It makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't get it. I mean, actually, most studies these days find that people would actually trust a robot surgeon more than they would a human surgeon, so... I know I don't trust human doctors, so...
I'm not sure I trust, well, I'm not sure I trust a robot cop, but at the same time...
I mean, they're not going to freak out, they're not going to be racist, they're not... well, I mean, some AI can be racist unintentionally, but yeah.
There's a problem with that. Garbage in, garbage out. And that's the problem with an AI robot cop, is that if it's fed all the racist data, which we know exists, this is how they determined high-profile crime areas for highest policing in places like, say, New York. All the crime statistics they use are highly biased and racist, so they can justify using more police surveillance and more policing in black neighborhoods, even though by crime statistics, the amount of violent crimes is equal, if not maybe slightly elevated in black communities compared to white communities, especially drugs, you've got an equal chance of a drug dealer and a drug user being black or white. It's just that black people get okay, now we're getting really political. Black people do get arrested and convicted at a higher rate.
This is the kind of shit that a new RoboCop movie could have been about. You know, the dangers of artificial intelligence when it's garbage in, garbage out. What happens when a fascistic police state gives this AI the wrong information based on bias
or deliberately wrong information?
Yeah, which there's so many instances of that as well, which is horrifying. But yeah.
This last 10 minutes is just me screaming.
I don't know why they decided, yes, the war in the Middle East, that is what we will make this about, but also we're not going to make it about this at all. We're going to waste the first 10 minutes of this movie on a thing that will never be relevant later. I think the only thing they were trying to convey is, yes, we're trying to push this propaganda that, see, the people of Tehran, they've just accepted these robots into their lives. It's totally normal, and we should do the same thing.
That is a good bit of cinematography when you do get a POV through the android who looks especially like RoboCop, which is a good visual nod. The innocent people do not look impressed, and that's the one bit of, again, call out the good.
Yeah.
That is a good bit of cinematography just wasted in this fucking movie.
It's interesting that one of those robots seems to back away as the kid reaches out for it. I don't know what that's...
Yeah, I love that.
It was just like, don't touch me, filthy human.
I think it's like a reaction to a kid pointing like, oh, okay, he's not a threat. But it's,
and I think this is the first time we've seen the OCP logo, and it's remained exactly the same.
I did like that. This could almost work if it was a a soft reboot in that sense. Like, it still wouldn't. This movie's mangled in its messaging.
Yeah, that's the thing is, when you write a story, your allegory or your metaphor should be very clear. Like, this is what we're going to be focusing on, and I guess this is one of those movies written by committee where they go, oh, we'll do this, and then we'll have this. It's like, how does any of this fucking tie together?
I think they had an idea, but then they spent so much time in the front-loading this movie to justify their idea, but it's not supported by anything.
I think this could have worked if this was the main focus, and it could have been interesting, and I do like the contrast between high tech and low culture. You know, everything in the city is traditional or even ancient, and you could have some commentary about how, you know, a majority of the people on planet Earth are not in developed countries. They are not benefiting from technology in any way. In fact, technology doesn't play a huge part in their lives at all, really. And so, yeah, again, there was potential here if you wanted to just focus on this.
Isn't there a line at the beginning where it's like, you know, US AI-controlled drone forces are policing, like, literally every other place in the world except America? Jesus fucking Christ. How relevant is that? And how good would that be as a plot point to start a movie? What if RoboCop rebelled against this system? You know, early on. Because part of this movie is it's not truly RoboCop versus OCP, it is more RoboCop versus Dick Jones.
Yeah.
That is it's basically the second act low point of the character arc. We don't get that in this. We don't get okay, it takes us an hour to see fucking RoboCop in public. Okay, I'm exaggerating. I've not exactly got around with the stopwatch. We'll get to that when it happens.
Oh, it's about 15 minutes before we even see Murphy. My last thought on this minute was that, and this is a thought I've had about Tron Legacy as well, that I think the aesthetics of this film will date more than the original film. Yeah. It's already feeling very much of its time. It's making a lot of choices that were popular a few years ago that aren't so much. It says it's 2014 and we're recording in 2020. And already I'm just going, oh yeah, we were doing that at the time, weren't we? Yeah. And Tron Legacy, likewise, we have the all black rubber and a lot of those choices that are very much early 2010s.
God damn it, Bryan Singer.
He's a lot to answer for.
Yeah.
A lot to answer for.
Yes. Okay, so this hasn't been publicly stated, but I have told you that I did not like Tron Legacy. However, I did like the look and the aesthetic of Tron Legacy. I think visually it was a very interesting film. I just thought the main lead was, again, generic and unnoticeable.
Oh, he is. He's awful. Yeah, listen to minute 7 where I just bitch about Sam Flynn being the worst protagonist ever for about half an hour.
Yeah. Visually speaking, like, I would defend Tron Legacy to this day, and this movie, this RoboCop remake, is just so bland.
Well, the difference is that Joe Kosinski, who directed Tron, was very passionate about it, and he came to Disney with that proposition of, I think I can do this. Yeah. Whereas I think RoboCop was just basically a studio-mandated thing of, you know what was successful? You know what we could probably just print some money from? Yeah, RoboCop.
Remakes are a thing at the moment. What have we got in our catalogue that's worth a lot of money and we want to ruin?
It's just I'm just so sick of it. All the franchises and the sequels and the remakes. I want to go back to a time where movies were pretty standalone and you would watch them 100 times and be like, oh man, I wish there was more of this, but you never get more, and that's actually a good thing.
I do like soft reboots to a degree, well, when they're done good and right. This is why I like, say, Blade Runner 2049 as opposed to if someone tried to remake Blade Runner. I like furthering the story. I actually kind of like it when there's a gap between a movie and a sequel, in the sense of exploring what happened to these characters. Where are they now?
Yeah.
Are they in a good place or a worse place? Okay, fuck it. Let's do the tangent. This is why I love Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi.
Yes.
God, I hate the fucking fanboys pissing and moaning because he's not the biggest fucking Jedi master in the world and defeating evil.
I don't believe he would ever give up.
Yeah, if he defeated the evil, the First Order wouldn't be there. And then where is the fucking conflict?
Yeah, whenever I encounter a fan who's like, no, Luke should have just been unchanging and just the goodest Jedi ever. I'm just like, that's not interesting. That's fan fiction. I don't give a shit.
We've got 30 years of books of that, and those characters don't really evolve.
Honestly, strange it is to say, the Michael Bay Transformers movies absolute pile of garbage. But I will say there's interesting ideas throughout, and I will talk about this in the video essays that I will probably do eventually on Transformers.
We'll link them.
That after about 4 or 5 movies of trying to save humanity and humans being shitheads, Optimus is just like, no, after this, we're done. I've lost too many of my people. What the fuck am I supposed to do? This is too much. We're just at a deadlock here. This is not accomplishing anything. And I was just, aside from him being a total fucking psychopath in those movies where he's just like, I'll kill you! Give me your face! But yeah, aside from that, if...
oh my god, I'm just mentioning a Face-Off reboot with Optimus and Megatron.
Yes. So, yeah, the concept of...
But still voiced by Nicolas Cage and John Travolta.
Oh, yeah. But the idea of Optimus or Luke Skywalker giving up hope, but not forever, they sort of have to go through that arc of... It's a very relatable, it's a very human arc. The idea of someone who's just so unwaveringly positive, that's not relatable, that's not realistic. Whereas someone who gets to that point where they go, shit's happened, we have lost lives over this, there are consequences, I am at a crossroads here, I'm at a crisis of faith. Seeing someone like Robot Jesus or Space Jesus, facing the same thing, that's very humanizing.
But Luke's original story arc wasn't all sweetness and light.
No.
He had to go through trials. He had to. It's almost like it's part of the hero's journey that George Lucas loved so much. And basically, I was going to say suck Joseph Campbell's dick, but
Yeah, he kind of did.
it's not that far.
That's pretty close.
Joseph Campbell was a big inspiration, and I believe George Lucas actually recorded a video interview with him back in the 90s or something like that. I saw it in TAFE, and that's where I actually learned about the hero's journey.
I learnt it from Rick and Morty.
You're trash.
Dat me.
Yeah, I must admit, the whole idea of Optimus Prime turning into a psycho killer, that's off-putting. But that's also because Optimus Prime is framed as the good guy.
Yeah, he Daddy Optimus.
Yeah, that probably says more about Michael Bay's personal politics. It's almost like when you get narcissists and, what's the other term?
Objectivists?
Objectivists.
Yes.
Yeah, as soon as you get these people with deeply cynical, deeply narcissistic, deeply individual to the point of rejecting others.
I do think that objectivism and libertarianism have terrible, misleading names, but...
Yeah, that's a whole other discussion. Yeah, I think it's when you frame those people as the good guys, that's when things start to really get put into focus. I'm not going to talk about particular movies I've already said I'm not going to talk about. I think this is why The Watchmen doesn't work in... Because Rorschach is framed as the good guy, the only good guy, and he's not. Because then none of them are the good guys.
No one's a good guy in that story. No. But speaking of continuing stories on, HBO's Watchmen is an excellent example of this is something new and fresh and we're continuing on in this world, but it doesn't feel like we're covering the same territory again, and I love it for that.
So I haven't seen it mostly because I've just now had a chance to get a copy of it, and I've...
Yeah, it only came out last year and was on Foxtel, so...
Yeah, so I don't have Foxtel. I've been tempted to pick up the Blu-ray, but I know I'll pick up the Blu-ray, I'll sit on a shelf, I'll never watch it. But I just want to have a quick question. I know it's a continuation from the Watchmen story, but it's a continuation from the Watchmen comics or the Watchmen
comics?
Movies? Okay, cool.
Yes, so you got...
That's going to make me worth watching it now.
Oh, yeah, so you got squid showers happening periodically, it's great.
Yeah, I must admit, in the context of the movie, I did think removing the squid was a very good call, but as a continuation of that particular version of the story, I'm not sure I want to go into that universe a bit more.
Yeah, and it's written by Damon Lindelof, but it's actually really good. I don't understand. How did that happen? I don't know why my voice is all like Shaggy now. Zoink, Scoop.
We're not having that discussion again. I don't want to know Shaggy's own face.
Jinkies.
Oh, I've seen enough of that porn. Anyway, TV and movies are collaborative efforts, so if you've got good producers, you've got good showrunners, you've got good directors, and if the head writer's writing a bit shit, you got someone to pull the weight.
Share the load.
Yeah.
So my final note was that the remake was directed by Jose Padilla, and he's basically done nothing before RoboCop. He's had this series called Elite Squad, and that's about it. And
never heard of that.
Yeah, so he is Brazilian, and I think Elite Squad were Brazilian movies. So I think it's evident that when they made RoboCop remake, they just grabbed someone they could kind of boss around.
Yeah, it sounds like a for-hire director.
Yeah.
A guy they can not necessarily add an artistic vision, it's just someone they know they can get behind the counter, say, go there, point that, do this.
Yeah.
This is one of the reasons I reject auteur theory, is that there's a lot of directors who are just there just to do the job. They're hired by a studio to just get the job done. Some of them do have artistic visions. For the most part, they just don't put any personality into there because that's not what they're there to do.
Yeah, well, I think auteur theory only applies to auteurs.
Yeah, that's why I think it's great. You can say some directors, you usually have to see multiple movies to get that. That's why I will call Verhoeven an auteur, because I can see familiar themes and topics he deals with.
Yeah.
But I won't necessarily call, say, Tommy Wiseau an auteur.
Yes, I could, definitely.
He probably does fit in. No, okay, yeah, he would fit into auteur theory, but there's other directors like
Well, I would say the gosh, I just blanked the names. The brothers who direct all the Marvel movies.
The Russos.
The Russos do not have a distinct vision. It is the most generic directorial style you can imagine.
I think a lot of the flavour of the Russos movies comes from the writing more than the direction. They're competent, but those guys came in from TV.
Yeah.
So a lot of TV directors are one-offs, or they're hired just to point the camera and shoot. They're just there to get stuff done on time.
I mean, even someone like Kevin Smith is an auteur because all of his movies revolve around the same thing, which is basically that he was making podcasts as movies before podcasts were a thing.
Well, it's funny because, he fits into auteur theory, even though his cinematic style is very kind of bland and technically just competent.
Yeah, like it didn't occur to him to move the camera around until some other director went, why don't you just set up the shot over here? Oh, I didn't. He went to film school and didn't realize you could fucking move the...
He dropped out of film school.
Yeah, you could move the camera. My God, I've never been to film school. I know that. Fuck.
I've used dollies. God damn it. Yeah, I've used rigs. I've used dollies. I do a vertigo shot. The vertigo shot is where you zoom in as you're moving the camera. So if you're moving towards an object, you zoom in, you zoom out, and you get this really great distortion of the field of view. It is a great shot. It's called the vertigo shot because Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah, I like this.
Yeah. I'm a schmuck, and I can do that.
It's I left the stove on. That's the shot.
I love the vertigo shot. And I do it on one of the most cheesiest fucking bits of the entire short film. It makes no sense, but we loved it, and we wanted to do it.
Yep.
And there's a jig shot as well in there that really my producer wanted, and I was just like, yeah, sure. I let my my cinematographer handle most of the shots. I was just like, look, I'll do what you want, I'll just direct, and I have ideas for shots, but you choose your passion, you set up how you want to. I don't think I could have chosen better shots, I'll be honest. I had an idea, but man, they came out a lot better than I could ever imagine. This is why you hire good people, folks.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if they'd actually gotten a decent director for the RoboCop remake. At least there was someone at the helm who had an idea, who had something to contribute.
I think they probably approached a few different directors, and probably a lot of them were just like, took one look at what they wanted and went, this is not going to be good.
Yeah.
You know,
I think they were just like, who gives a shit? No, wait, hang on. I've been saying, I don't know why I started doing this, but when I say who gives a shit in my head, it's to the theme of, the Transformers, where the Decepticon logo changes to the Autobots. Like, yeah, who gives a fuck? And then I throw whatever it is away, and I don't think about it again.
I always think back to Judith Lucy on The Late Show when it's too long to explain, but when she says that on that, it's...
Who gives a shit?
So the funny thing is, I was just thinking how I would shoot the RoboCop remake. I would shoot it as a documentary.
Ooh.
Just thinking about it. A lot of this movie is all about, like, the corporate trying to develop RoboCop as a product. why not shoot it like that?
Well, then our main conceit in our remake is that someone or a group of people are trying to bring back the original RoboCop.
If I was given this script, this RoboCop 2014 script, and I was told, you get to shoot it however you want, you just got to make sure this ends up on screen, I would shoot it like a guerrilla-style documentary, I would, as much as I don't like shaky cam and stuff like that, I would use those conceits to tell that story, the outsider's view of the boardroom where they're discussing things. I would fully satirize it in that style. Yes, as much as I don't like it, in the Office style.
No, I absolutely want RoboCop sitting in that office corner, just staring directly into camera. I'm like, I think that went well.
Yeah. I think it would be very interesting to basically make a RoboCop movie called RoboCop, and it would still be the same. RoboCop's barely in it. You could do the whole thing where Alex Murphy is not a character in this. You really don't get a chance to see him. All you find out about Alex Murphy is like off the side. It's like, did you hear about this guy? There's a cop. He's perfect for the program, and he got blowed up, and he's technically dead. Let's get him. Could you imagine that scene? That would be amazing. Oh my god. Damn it. No, I'm not going to remake a RoboCop movie with a... No. We'll develop our own cooler, better RoboCopper.
With blackjack and hookers.
Oh, God.
I think that about covers it.
So why don't you tell the lovely audience who have listened to us prattling on for so long where we can find you, Connor?
I'm at traviandesigns.com, Travian, or Alien Prequels by Minute on Facebook. If you want to become a Patreon supporter of me specifically and my amazing shows, you can head on over to patreon.com/traviandesigns, where you can get advanced episodes of Prometheus by Minute, although that's almost done now.
I know.
And then there's also Covenant Minute and Legacy Minute. And hopefully I don't add anything else for a little while, because...
Either way, the links are in the bottom.
Yeah, links in the description.
I am Simon. You can find me at Fanboy Crossing. Just Googles those things on the YouTubes. I do Kung Pao Enter the Minute. I have Patreon. Nobody subscribes to Patreon. Yeah, it's all right. It's okay. It's fine. Just go listen and watch my stuff.
You need an OnlyFans instead, man.
Yeah.
You need saucy photos of your beard.
Yeah, I put my beard in provocative poses.
Yes.
Lounging on the bed. In the shower with a little hint of soap in the. No, we're joking, but this is a fucking good idea.
By Jove, I think it might just work.
Well, it would certainly be a good way to get off the doll, so...
Meh.
See you, everyone.